When you hear that the only way that this plan is going to work is through teamwork, don't have the most confidence, I'll be the first one to admit. But somehow they managed to make this heist work out quite flawlessly, though the end of the episode does indicate the hardest part has yet to come and they are about to approach said hardest part of the mission next week. So it's a good thing they more or less went pretty smoothly with this operation, because it does give you some pretty solid confidence in the team to be able to pull off this heist completely, not even just part A, but the entire package. I have to say though, out of all the episodes of Akudama Drive, you could consider this one to be the most normal paced episode in comparison to other anime that we've seen. Akudama Drive has had this insane balls to the walls pacing from episode 1 and 2 that I really enjoyed. Me saying it's insanely fast pacing isn't actually a diss towards it, it's actually a compliment. Because the way these characters act, it just makes sense for the pacing to match their insane personalities. So it does feel like we never have breathing time. So to come into an episode that actually does give us that breathing time, and really does go over the plan, really does break it down into baby terms, and even when you're a part of the mission, because they have such a, honestly, it felt foolproof. Even though you knew there was going to be some sort of hardship along the way, for the most part, everyone's abilities and what they could do and what they could offer to the table, it felt like they all had a role to play, and as long as that role was used successfully, then no matter what, they would be able to successfully hit both buttons at the same time and get to the cargo package. Though the thing with it is it just felt like if this was like the first episode, obviously there'd have to be some rework done because we're just jumping into a giant heist. This feels more normally paced to a lot of like crime, criminal activities type stories in a cyberpunk neon setting environment. And it was interesting because this is such a drastic shift for the pacing in comparison, but it does work quite flawlessly. And I think the reason is because we've grown accustomed to these characters, so now when we do take it a bit slower, we don't have the characters always being over the top. We just know how they operate at this point, so you can have either slower, fast-paced, medium-paced episodes, and it's probably going to work quite flawlessly. The character banter remained just as hilarious and insane. I've already complimented Hoodlum and Brawler's relationship being my personal favorite, and while Brawler would definitely be, you know, the one you would think would probably never end up dead and someone like Hoodlum would be the one to bite the bullet first, I actually think it's going to be the reverse. I've seen a lot of people say that Hoodlum to them is going to be the character who's going to die in this series because really he's honestly probably the least capable and least qualified to be there next to Swindler, who we're going to touch upon, a theory that many people have kind of brought up. I honestly think Hoodlum might be the one to end up alive towards the end of the show. I'm not sure if they're even going to kill anyone, but it almost feels like because of the bromance they have between Brawler and Hoodlum, I feel like Hoodlum's going to be someone who's going to be put in danger, and Brawler's going to take a fatal blow for him because he's his bro and he knows that he's more valuable than him, so you need to stick around because you're going to be able to solve everything, and maybe that's going to be character progression for him to really rise to the occasion, no longer get by with luck or lies, and actually do something important for the mission. To me, that's honestly what it feels like they're probably going to build up to, just based on how other kind of character pairings have worked in the past in other anime, but obviously it'll be interesting to see where they could go. But that's kind of my prediction of who might die. Even though I love Brawler, I feel like he would take a bullet for Hoodlum, and it would honestly be an emotional turn of events and really should push his character into new territory if they do decide to go pretty depressing down the line, which you never really know, because this could be just a completely fun show where the only people who die are those who get in the way of their criminal acts, and I guess only time will tell. As you read from the title, and as I kind of hinted at in this review already, Swindler's a character who appears to be the most ordinary out of everyone, and the theory kind of floating around is what if Swindler is going to be like the mastermind behind this operation? What if she isn't just an ordinary person? What if she's been playing dumb this whole time and she wants the cargo or something like that, and she's gonna one-up this cat or something? I feel like that honestly could be a potential route that they could go down. There's nothing really indicating to me that she knows more than she's letting on. If she is someone who actually has a plan to basically steal whatever it is they're trying to steal from everyone else, or maybe she has a plan to get revenge or something, it would come from left field, but then we'd probably connect the dots in prior episodes and be like, oh, how did we not see that coming? Right now, there's nothing that gives me a flag where we're going like Countless Nana here, where it's like, okay, yeah, clearly something big's about to happen. It feels to me as if she really is an ordinary person. She has no talents. I mean, if she is faking it, she's probably faking the out of breath sort of situation, trying to play dumb, like, oh, they can't know I'm an ordinary person, but I also can't let them know that I don't have skills, so she has to be like, oh, can I have one of your robots, your hacker, so I can float up with you? No, don't be silly. It's interesting because it would be an interesting turn of events, because what would her motive be? Does she know what's inside it or something? Or is she really just an ordinary person? Either direction they take that would be compelling, because having a regular person get roped into a criminal organization, slowly but surely looking at them as normal people, kind of warping her view on reality. Even though a lot of what we see, they do seem like decent people, we also have to remember that they easily will kill guards for just doing their job, so they're not good people. So that would be interesting to see how her worldview could be tainted by hanging around a bunch of hardened criminals, besides Huixiu, because he's pretty much just as ordinary as her, just does some petty crime on the side. But if she also is this mastermind behind everything, then that could be very interesting to see how they would react, because they would really have their worldview shattered. Either way, I think they have two very interesting possibilities to really make this story flourish, and I don't see a way for them to mess it up, because by either making the main character an ordinary person who gets kind of corrupted by criminals, or you make it so she is this master criminal that's going to screw them over, either way it should be quite compelling. And if I was to put my eggs in any basket, I would probably predict that she might know more than she's letting on, even though there's nothing to truly base it off of, just other than gut theories. It just feels like that would be a really interesting way, and I think it would be a Danganronpa author twist, to be honest. I feel like it really does fit the narrative that they generally go for, so I think it'd be interesting for sure. This episode, for being a lot of strategic planning and then just watching the operation, I thought was great. A ton of great funny moments. I mean, I love the idea that the teams look completely stacked. Courier on one side, and then you got 3 and 3 on the other. And it does look quite stacked, but the cat saying, nope, this is perfectly placed. It takes into account everyone's abilities. And when you see the idea of how they have to get through the barriers that are guarding these buttons, they have to be pressed at the same time without alarms going off in order for that elevator to reach the spot that they need to go to. It was quite interesting, because you knew on Brawler's side, Brawler was going to get through with a brute force. It was just a matter of how he was going to do it. And I like the idea of him just ripping up the podiums, basically, and just tossing it around. It's very funny. I love that. And Hoodlum being the reason it does work on their side, because he trips and hits the button with his face, I think is hilarious, as we have the knife hit the other side. It's interesting too, because you have someone like Cutthroat who just keeps throwing knives, and each knife, because he has such perfect aim, will push it further and further, runs out of knife. Okay, what are you going to do? I thought it was going to be something like, okay, maybe they're going to pick up a rock, they're going to pick up something in the general area. No, they pick up one of the robots, and just, that's amazing. I think it's hilarious, because it really does put into perspective just how goofy the personas really do mesh together. And you could mix and match the cast in any which way, and you're going to come up with something just as hilarious. There's certain personalities you want to keep together, such as Cutthroat and obviously Swindler, because whole force romantic interests here going on. And then you have Brawler, and then you have, of course, Hoodlum, who just have the greatest bromance of all time. Even though it was built on a web of lies, it just feels like, you know, the lies are there for Brawler for a reason, because he really is having fun with his bro, who he thinks is way better than him, even though he could kick his ass and honestly could complete missions a lot better than what he thinks his bro could. I think just the cast dynamic and breaking them up into pairings, I think really let them really stand there on their own 2 feet. Like Hacker, as an example, hasn't been anyone I've been overly fond of. Nothing against the character. It's just, you look at Hacker in comparison to everyone else, what does he offer that's really all that insane or fun? But by giving him 2 characters to work alongside with and having those, it's very dry humor, but it does work quite well. Like him saying, oh, you know, I expect more from you, Swindler. We know you're just faking it, while she's trying to climb up the stairs out of breath. It's really funny, because it's just that simple, dry humor that really, if you separate it from the large cast of characters who are the most absurd personalities, a doctor who can cut her head off and stitch it back together, a hoodlum who's lying to everyone's face, a brawler who's punching through a door even though the door's unlocked. It doesn't look like he's all that interesting, but by giving him only 2 other characters to work alongside with, someone who appears to be an ordinary person and one who's a lunatic killer who is so happy to be alongside his future fiance, or at least that's how he looks at it, it really does make those characters pop quite well. And someone like Courier, he's cool. He doesn't need to be alongside anyone. He can just sit on the bike the entire episode, and we're going to look at him as being too cool for school. That's what I love about the characters, is they all do have interesting personalities, but depending on the actual interactions and pairings that they're kind of with in the episode, it gives them a different perspective. Every character I can now safely say I really, really enjoy. Last week, if you would have said, do I love every character? I would have said I liked every character. I wouldn't say I love every character. Hacker, to me, just honestly, he was cool. I like his technology, but nothing about his persona really made me feel like, oh, he has something funny to offer or something that really is needed outside of his plot-related activities. In this episode, I feel like now I can really see what his potential is with other character interactions, and that's a really good sign for the remaining 9 episodes of this anime. It just feels like Akudama Drive is everything I want out of an original anime. Visually, it's creative, the voice actors are having fun, the character designs aren't copy and paste templates. It just feels like everything that I want out of an anime, and why it's currently my favorite anime of the season. And I think it's going to be my anime of the season when the season does officially wrap up, because it's everything I like on a production level, and most importantly on a written level. The character personalities are all great, and even though they're, evil criminals at the end of the day who kill people who are just doing their job, it's hilarious and it's vile, it's amazing, it's just all everything you want to see out of the anime medium, and goddamn visually is it second to none. Let me know your thoughts and feelings though down below. Do you love it? Do you hate it? And where do you think it might go next week with the hardest part of the mission and how this seemingly was hard and I guess nothing has even been seen yet. If you enjoyed the video, of course, we'd like to show your support and hit that subscribe button if you happen to be new around here. So until next time everyone, please take care and have a good one.